Recently, the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences dropped a major new report about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in Canada. Now, if you're raising an individual with FASD, working with, living with, you probably know firsthand the stigma, the barriers, the challenges out there. But this report shines a clear light on exactly what's happening right across the country. It covers everything from diagnosis and prevention to lifelong supports and Indigenous-led strategies. There's a ton of insight in here. It's thick. They actually have two. You can find it on our website, fasdsuccess.com/podcast. Of course, we'll have all of the sources under the episode here. So it's a thick one. Even so much so, they have a thick one and then a summary one. We'll have both there in case you're a nerd about FASD like I am. And these two sitting here with me. So what I wanted to do is just get right into it and talk to Kathy and Audrey about this new report. Audrey, I'm going to ask you, like, you've been in the game for a long time. When you hear these reports coming out or they're doing the reports, is it pessimism, optimism? What's your initial reaction when you hear this going down?
I think it's good anytime that the federal government invests in something for FASD. And this one was commissioned from the Public Health Agency of Canada to the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences to conduct this large review. And I think it's really good. Like, we need to shine more lights on FASD, and it's a complicated topic. And yeah, I think
Okay,
this one
okay.
is good.
Okay, then I before jumping to Kathy, then that's your position on it. Awesome. What stood out? What was the biggest aha?
For me,
Yeah, for
um,
you. Yep.
yeah, I don't think there was a big aha moment in it. When people read it, they're going to go, uh-huh, yeah, we know that. But I think that having it all together in one place in a really thought out conversation almost around all of these topics, the pros, the cons, the why we need to, what we need to do next kinds of things. So I think that is the biggest strength of this report, is that it's all consolidated, and hopefully when we go to talk to government officials now about FASD, whether that's federal or provincial, we can say, look at this report. It gives all of the information around all the issues.
Okay, rock and roll. I love it. Kathy is the executive director now. When you read this, what are you thinking about? How are you processing what you've read as a just a consumer or an ED? What was your thought process?
My first thought was pride, honestly. When you read that report, on every page there is it's our researchers are being cited, our staff, CanFASD, issue papers are being referenced. And then so that's for CanFASD, that's
So we're doing our job,
yeah, we're doing our
from what
job.
I
And not only are we
understand,
doing our
right?
job, we're doing a great job because
Okay,
we
great.
know
Friends.
that, but it's nice to see it in this
Yeah.
report,
Oh,
right? I mean, the
anytime
national
valid.
report, they
Yeah.
spent a lot of money on this report, paying the Academy to put this report together. And the take home message from me was that CanFASD is doing a great job. We're cited and referenced over and over again. So that's my first impression.
Uh-huh.
Second impression is that it just reinforces and reiterates all of the things that CanFASD has been saying and all of the work that we're doing. So we're on the right track. I mean, it's sometimes a tough slog, as in the field of FASD. It's poorly resourced, and CanFASD beats many of those drums every day. And so to have, as Audrey said, all of that information, the gaps identified, and the things that we've been saying and asking for years in this report with coming from a voice, an
Yeah.
objective voice of
Okay.
authority, is it's a big deal. It's a big deal for the field. The field should be hopeful and excited.
So is it almost like this, guys? Is it almost because you mentioned we beat these drums every single day? Is it like almost like a parent who beats the drum of symptoms, not behaviors, every single day, but it's coming from you? And so now you can source an outside, hey, this is not only us, just like what
Absolutely.
caregivers can do with your work, with our work. Is
Absolutely.
that, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's another, right, it's another voice, and it's a big loud one. It changes the tone of the voice when the government has paid to hear it.
Yeah, okay, for
And I
sure.
think too that
Yeah.
the people at the Academy put together a really good panel of people, which covered experts and researchers and families and individuals with lived experience and service providers all together. And then they went out and they talked to all kinds of people, not just reviewed all the literature that was out there, but they actually held lots of focus groups and talked to people and heard directly from people. And you can hear those voices in the report, which I also think makes it really strong. And as Kathy said, we can lean on that to say it's not just us banging this drum, it's other people too.
Where could we jump in, or what could we do? Is that kind of the next thinking? Like this
Yeah,
has only been out a few weeks. Like I'll
exactly.
preface with that.
Yeah,
So you should still be in that phase, I'm sure.
for sure. I think there's lots of opportunities for CanFASD in terms of providing national leadership. There's opportunities for the federal government. They make great suggestions and they recognize the gaps. They call them what they are. I think that some of the stuff we're already thinking about and doing in terms of workforce development or online training courses. We're trying to raise awareness. We're trying to have an informed workforce so that so families don't, there's no wrong door for a family. Depending on what they're looking for, the service or the person they're dealing with has some sense of FASD and how they can be accommodated and better supported. So, but yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities. There's always lots of work to be done. And now we need to advocate for more funding for FASD.
In your press release about this in general, Audrey, I'll just mention it because there was one in 2005, right? That was 20 years ago. It lists a lot of the same stuff. So, and you're enthused about it, and you mentioned some of those reasons, but are we further ahead in some of these areas? Do you see what I mean? It was, you said we already know about this stuff. Where does the excitement, like, and the hope come from seeing like the same thing but different? I'm just trying to find your lens and not trying to dump on it, but use your experience to help us tease it out.
Yeah, for sure. I was involved in the 2005 version of what Public Health Agency put together.
Hmm.
And it is disappointing that we're still talking about a lot of the very same things 20 years later. But what we have now that we didn't have back then is evidence and research to show the need, we know a lot more about how many people have this issue. We know a lot about diagnosis. We know a lot more about interventions and what families and individuals need. And we know that people are not doing so well in society as they age out of care or as they enter the adult world. The systems aren't there to support them. We know a lot more than we did back in 2005 because of the research and the evidence and the testimony of families and their participation. But what we need now is investment into the systems across federally and provincially. We need financial investment into the gap areas, both the research side and the service delivery side.
Okay, so help the layman me out here. So the government says we need this. The government did this. Same parties in power, correct? They're saying, here's our recommendations. But then did they follow up with, here's why we're going to plow billions of dollars into this now? Or is it just, so how
Let's
does
hope
that,
it's
like
billions.
okay, you're telling us the problem. We're telling you the problem. We all know this is a problem. So what are you going to do about the problem?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that you should have somebody from the Public Health Agency do a podcast
Okay,
interview.
so you're wondering the same thing. Oh,
We
okay.
don't know what's next, but we will certainly at CanFASD and our teams be advocating for more
Yeah, you
investment
will. Yeah.
and for those gaps to be filled that are identified in the report.
What is in this report and for like caregivers? Like, how can they use this report besides just being informed and saying no shit, Sherlock?
I think their voice is heard in this about the care and support, early diagnosis, equitable service delivery. All of those kinds of things are echoed in this report. So I think that families should feel heard. how they can use it, I think, is probably more on a political level than on a service level, but
That's
maybe
fair.
Kathy
And
has some
I was
ideas.
also just thinking as a validation tool too. It's
Yeah.
nice to
Mhm.
just read that. Hey, I'm not talking shit. Read
Mhm.
this. It's just, it's more evidence. And we could talk about even that battle to free access to research as I see you guys are actively involved with that. That's a bit of a tangent, but I will, Kathy, will wrap up this report. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there anything that needs to be pointed to with your executive director lenses on? Or is it just check it out? It's great validation. If you're advocating, it's a great part of the package to present and to move with.
Yes, definitely check it out. It's a great report. It is validation, all of the things you said. I think a big difference, despite the not having moved the dial very far since the 2005 framework for action, one of the things, as Audrey said, that I think caregivers and families can feel really good about, and CanFASD can feel good about, the field can feel good about, is that voice of living experience in the report that wasn't there in the
That's
2005
fair.
report. I mean,
I didn't even think about that. I'll be honest,
yeah,
or the
I,
voices mattered more
exactly. I
because I
mean,
was looking for numbers and I was like, where's the numbers? And I don't know if they did that purposely, but there's only in the long report is there minimal amounts.
yeah, yeah,
So
they did it. FASD is not the easiest. It's a complex field. Folks with FASD, there's a lot of barriers for them to participate in research and especially in engagement, like a long engagement
yeah, sustained engagement for
like
sure.
this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't super conducive to folks with living experience. It was by webinar, so that it was difficult. The voices were heard. CanFASD certainly amplified them as much as we could, and that evidence stands as strong as the scientific evidence I feel, in this report, which is what makes it even better.
Is there anything you wanted to say, Audrey, right?
I was just going to add to
Yeah.
what he
Well,
was saying
yeah.
that as if caregivers want to promote the work and to point out to both provincial and federal politicians or territorial, that they can share the summary report. It's easily digestible
Mhm.
and they can highlight the areas where they think there is the greatest need for their local politicians. And I think
That
that
is
that's
true. They could use that as a framework for their own communities. What do we recognize in our community? We need to be the prevention side, or is it the intervention side, or is it the early intervention side? Which all the factors are listed into the report. And this report is good for someone who's new too. I take for granted that we live and breathe this stuff, but it really does a great job of breaking it down. But before we go any further, I know we just got right into it, right into the report, and because it was hot off the presses. But what I didn't tell you, what we didn't talk about, is a transition that happened. This is July. At the start of April, for those of you who've listened to the show, Audrey, you've been on this show 5, 6 times. You're probably the most ever on our show. You've been a champion of mine for years, and we love you and we appreciate you for that. Kathy, we've known you for a long time, right? Because you're always awesome and right beside Audrey. But switcheroo happens. There's a switcheroo. You notice I was saying Kathy is the executive director and Audrey is now the head of strategic partnerships. Don't make me say the whole thing because it sounds awesome.
I'm the director of SPY, strategic.
You're the director of wrangling me and folks like me. Yeah, that's right. I know what it is. I know what it is. Okay. Okay. So first of all, congratulations, Kathy. That's cool. And second of all, why, Audrey? What? Why'd you do this to me? That was my
Thank me,
initial,
but
what she told me.
don't make it
That
all
was,
about you, Jeff.
yeah, that was my no word of a lie because she didn't say anything about you. And she said first she was stepping down because I was sworn to secrecy, of course. But now the cat's out of the bag, so I'll reframe my statement. It looks like you got lots left in the tank, buddy. What was the cause of the switch?
Yeah, just personally, My husband's been retired for about 3 or 4 years now, and I have a complicated personal life. So I'm the primary caregiver for my sister who has dementia and now lives in long-term care. And also, my aging parents live in almost the same yard as us. We live in the country, and I'm the closest support system that they have. And so I just needed a more flexible work arrangement. And so I've moved to part time, which has been lovely, although my paycheck is smaller. Like, who would have thought? And so I can do these personal things. I can step out and deal with issues when I need to at home. And Kathy has been here. She's the
You know
longest
that. We'll get
employee,
to her next.
but
I
she knows the organization. So
agree.
I don't have the stress of managing and knowing everything and being responsible.
Cared. That's the stress because you cared.
I do care. I still care,
I
but
agree. You know what I'm saying.
passed over the responsibility to Kathy to care about it so that I can deal with things that are going on maybe at
Someone
home.
with a fresher cortical HPA system that can manage
Wow.
it. Yeah. But I'll tell you though, thanks for sharing that. You didn't have to do that. So appreciate the look into your personal life. I think everybody could, especially caregivers and our parents, get it, right? And you get it. But again, I'll follow up with saying my headline was a bit of a lost leader because then you did follow up and say, but I'm not going anywhere.
And that's the great part, is that I still get to contribute. I still get to do the things that I think I'm pretty good at and that I like to do. I've been really lucky that way, that the organization has allowed me to stay involved and still to contribute.
Yeah. Agreed, agreed. And you've always killed it. Like, how are you enjoying it?
I did find it quite a bit of a challenge. So, anyone who works in management knows you just work as many hours as you need to work to get the job done, right? Most weeks were 50 to 60-hour weeks. And then when you cut down to a 30-hour week, it's wow, this is really a lot less time to do stuff in. So that has probably been the biggest challenge. I have absolutely zero worries about how things are being managed or run.
Right,
I'm
right.
just
Who's to
trying to
what?
do
Yeah.
my thing with the conference, and I'm raising some funds for the organization. But yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, was like, oh my goodness, I
I
have
could
all
tell
this
because
time.
yeah, you worked a lot. You were always great with your time. And you're right. Kathy was always beside you. But Kathy, now it's like in hockey terms, it's different from being the assistant coach to now being the head coach. So what was
Absolutely.
that like? I don't know how it works because I know you have a board, but like when the idea was presented to you, dude, to be the ED now, what was up there? Were you like yes right away, or seeing what Audrey went through it? Think about
I guess I was probably yes right away, but like a bit reluctant. Yeah, big shoes to
Sure,
fill. I really liked my old job.
sure.
I loved my old job, taking on the admin side of the organization and the oversight and stuff. Those are not my superpowers, let's say. So that's been a bit of an adjustment, and it's still adjusting actually,
Sure. Oh, you're a
in
couple
that.
months into this, but
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But yeah, we have an amazing board that's and
Like the structure she created, right? Like
for
I
sure,
noticed.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything was set up very nicely for me to transition in. So there weren't any gaps. Everything was very nice and organized, and the staff is great. Obviously, I have great relationships with all of them. They were all very supportive, which was very important to me.
Okay, cool. So give us in depth your 10-year plan.
In depth,
No, I'm
my
joking.
10-year
I would
plan.
never. Don't. I'd strike that from the ledger. I was just being silly. But the question I do want to ask is because you do have to have one now,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure a lot of the mandates are the same, but some might be different. And so, what is your vision before we get into the political stuff, the direct stuff you're working at? Where are you taking us, Ben?
I think I think our path is good. I think the direction we're going in is great. I don't really have a different vision. I think that the vision of the that came with the report and identifying those gaps is I've certainly
Cool.
those were all things that I had been thinking about, or we had been thinking about. Now I've adopted those as a bit of
Yeah,
our
this is like,
mission.
I'll tell you this exactly. She was the GM of a hockey team for a very long time, and you've been the assistant GM. It's just so she steps down, you step in, you already have similar goals, and you still
Right.
need about a year to see what's up and get your feet wet before you're now. So maybe my asking this is even premature because you're like, we're already doing a lot. I'm learning a lot, steady as she goes, and then reevaluate in a
For sure,
year. Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's exactly right. We have committed stakeholders that, I think the change having Audrey and I switch roles was a big enough change for some of our
Yeah.
partners for now. Just stay on
Yeah,
the path.
because
And it's a good path. There's no
I
reason,
believe it is too. I
Yeah.
was just curious because
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people, I don't know if you said if it was ever my turn. Because you, Audrey, I don't even think you gave people time to ever think about that because you were just going so fast and then all of a sudden the pivot. Or is there some backdoor? Did you know way before she even mentioned it? Did you get the heads up? I'm thinking about this, Kathy, or were you disclosed way before everybody? Do we all have NDAs, verbal NDAs that we didn't know about at different times because we respect her?
Audrey and I work closely, and
Yeah,
so we always have, and so I think I probably knew
sure.
sooner than most.
I'm being silly
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah, and because there was lots of things to think about and work through and
Oh my
consider
God.
before
Is there something that has just surprised you about the new role?
all the reporting. It just
You're allowed to
I took
enjoy
the
it.
admin for granted. Like,
I,
because it matched Audrey made it look so seamless and easy, and that is one of her superpowers. And I just find it's not for me. Maybe I hope I develop it. I hope I wake up soon
oh
and I'm
man,
like
you are,
flexing
well.
my administrative muscles. But yeah, I find that stuff to be, yeah, like
Then what is your stuff, Kathy? What's your, you've been very humble and I love, it's awesome. You're human and it's a great mandate and any logical person on the planet would say, yeah, that all makes sense and reasonable expectations. But what are your superpowers?
I'm more of a like planner, strategic thinker. I like to write proposals and think about incorporate the research and the evidence into a like an ask and write the story. I think that's probably one of my superpowers. Yeah, and now I still do that, but I feel I have less time to think about and be creative. 'Cause
Amen, sister. I want to go like this. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the bane of my existence, your
Right.
existence. Yes, that so it's the goal and the struggle and the journey to create systems so that we can
Yeah,
wheeze the fun.
but
And
it's all
that
the behind the
is
scenes stuff to that
yes, but you need it. And then we need more investment. And with more investment, you could have an admin person, right? Audrey,
Yes.
if you, it's like you are trying to run the Leafs with the Blue Jackets budget. Big organization. I
Yes,
get it.
that's
Cool.
exactly
Is
right.
this good?
I like that hockey analogy.
Yeah, yeah, this is, I'll explain it to the Americans after. I'll substitute some of the things, but this is a human conversation, dude. And I hope parents are listening to this and just feeling so empowered about A, your vulnerabilities, B, your strengths, so that they can feel like I could get in here too, then I can mix it up. I don't have to be XYZ. And we are talking about a bill. Unless Audrey, do we want to fan over Kathy anymore? Like I'm sure you got 10
No,
hours.
please
Did you
don't.
want to, I know I seen the face. Seen okay, okay. So not want to talk about yourself. I get it. Something Audrey and I do have no problems with. At least I'll speak for myself. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this bill, Doc. It's for a national FASD framework. And is that work you're doing a lot with, Kathy, or is that an Audrey question, or who wants to go first with that?
Can be either of us.
Okay, Kathy, what is the bill? What is this bill? What is the framework?
So the framework is basically it is a framework, in fact. So the intention is to give some federal leadership is so for there to be equitable access to diagnosis and diagnostic services, that we have some standards for intervention, that Canadians across the country can expect the same level of service, care, support, diagnostic services, etc. It's pretty patchy. If you live on the east coast of Canada, if you in PEI or Nova Scotia, you don't have a diagnostic clinic. You're going to the closest is New Brunswick, and because of that, New Brunswick is very busy. They have very long waiting
Yeah,
lists.
that's far. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and it's hard for families. Diagnostic assessment takes time, and if it's not even in their home province, you've got to add travel time and the upheaval of all of that. And caregivers know all, I don't have to spell that out, they know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the framework is that it's to establish those standards, bring stakeholders in, bring Indigenous organizations and communities in, make sure all those voices are heard, and develop a pathway for national standards in all of those areas and prevention awareness. So that,
I got it. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Right on. Audrey, where are we at with this? Are you still on the case, detective?
Yeah, Kathy and I have been doing this together. So the bill was originally introduced by Senator Ravalia, who's been a real champion of FASD and this framework. And it was introduced into the Senate in 2022. And these things take a very long time, and there's lots of reasons, valid reasons, why it's taken so long. And then just before government was prorogued for the election, it had reached the committee stage where they review the evidence and they call expert testimony, and a whole bunch of people had been called to the committee to talk about the bill and why it's important and to answer questions from the senators. When government is stopped for an election, all the bills get canceled, whether they're in the Senate or in the House. They all get canceled. And so our bill has been canceled, so it won't be called S253 anymore. It'll be given a new number. But Senator Ravalia is committed to reintroducing the bill in the fall when the Senate resumes, and we'll have it reintroduced. Hopefully it'll go much more quickly this time because it's already reached the committee stage before. So we're hoping it'll go very quickly and reach the committee stage, because the process then, before it becomes a law, is that it has to be approved by the Senate. Then it goes to the House for the members of parliament to review. It'll likely go to a committee there. They'll do all the same things, have expert testimony and read a bunch of reports and stuff. And then hopefully they will approve it. Then it comes back to the Senate for royal assent. So for anything to become law in Canada, this is a similar process that they all go through. So Kathy and I, over the course of the last, since 2022 or before, talked to so many senators, so many MPs, like hundreds of people, to bring them up to date about FASD and to explain to them the importance of this national leadership that we need. And we haven't encountered anyone, hey Kathy, that has been negative to it or not supporting it.
Is it then it's just not reaching them? Is this the first time they're hearing of it?
Sometimes. Most people have heard about FASD. They know about the prevention side of things, but they don't know like how common it is, or they don't know like the struggles people face or the lack of services. So
planting seed until it's on docket, and it's almost like advertising. Like I remember they were okay. Sorry, like I just had, this is what we're doing. Okay.
yeah.
And there's nothing like this is lobbying in the positive way. So when
you're
it comes in
advocating,
front and they'll be like, I remember the ladies talking about this. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great.
So
Well,
we
that's
will,
cool.
once the bill is reintroduced in the fall, we probably will ask everyone to go back to their members of parliament, talk to them again. You can share the Health Academy report as well as the bill. It kind of gives some really nice background about why these are all issues, and then ask their MP to support the bill.
Cool. Cool. Did you have anything else to say? I didn't want to erupt.
One of the things that I'll be doing over the summer is working with Senator Ravalia's office to make sure that all of the pieces that are in the Academy of Health Science report that we talked about are in the bill. And I think we're in good shape, but obviously once it gets to committee, those are obvious questions that committee members will ask. And we don't want anyone to be caught off guard, or we have the opportunity to amend it before it gets reintroduced. So we want to make sure that those recommendations are reflected in the bill and the bill's up to date and is going to be what Canadians in the FASD field need and deserve.
You guys rule. This has been awesome. I think it's great because I always bug Audrey to be a human being, and you guys have both done that because people have a connotation to someone with a title of executive director or even talks well, is presented well, and which you guys do very well, but also being approachable. And because there's no ivory tower for y'all, as you were saying. And it's important to have conversations. You love people coming up to talk to you, right? Is that true? And
sure.
there not a better venue? Yeah, see, good transition, right? There has not a better venue to meet you than to meet you in Toronto in October, right? Because as much as you're doing work, as much as we're adjusted, you guys know how to throw a conference. You're not as scared of a good time, which is awesome. Possum, who knows more about what's going down this year for the conference, to tell us a little bit about Toronto.
Definitely Audrey.
Okay, there we go. And look at the executive director knows delegation, right? Smart right there, dude. Okay, cool. Okay, no problem. Kathy, I love it. So, Audrey, what is up, dude? Tell me.
So this is our second national conference. The last one was in 2023 in Saskatoon, and it was a huge hit.
Heard it, yep.
Building off of that, we're at the Hilton Downtown Hotel in Toronto, and we're anticipating about 600 people. We have about 400 registered right now, and going to be a similar format to what we had in 2023. So,
well, pray tell the format.
Okay, the starts with plenaries each day with a panel. So the first plenary is around human rights and FASD. I don't think we talk about that enough in
okay, hold on.
field.
What's a plenary? Like
a plenary, like a keynote, a starting talk.
Got it. You see, there's people like me. I know the rest of you guys heard that and we're like, yeah, Jeff, we know what it is, but there's a few like me. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so the first one's going to be on human rights. And so we have the Human Rights Commission of Canada going to be there along with some of our folks talking about rights. And the next day, we're going to be talking about trauma and FASD. And we've invited some folks from the UK who specifically research FASD and trauma and prenatal alcohol exposure and trauma. And so they're going to share their evidence with us. And then the third day, we're going to be talking about prevention. And that talk is going to be about the pinking of alcohol. So targeting young women to use alcohol. So that would be super interesting. And then the rest of the days are broke out into 8 sessionals for
covering everything from
prevention, awareness, policy, diagnosis, assessment, justice, child welfare, housing, substance use. People are going to be there from the Health Academy to also talk about their new report.
Is Dr. Mella going to be there?
Of course, Dr. Mella.
Dr. Pi going to be there?
Of course.
Okay, these are the people that you know you're going to be there.
Of course, we'll
Kathy,
be there.
you're going to be there.
I'll be there.
Guess what, dudes? I am also going to be there, and I'm excited about it as well. And I love the conferences. You put on one in 2017. Remember that one? That should have been that's the standard. It was so good. And you guys mix science with society and social, and you're normal people working really hard who are super smart at what you do, and it's awesome. And anybody could go from anywhere on the planet, correct? Yeah, we can just come to Toronto, yeah?
No, that's right. And I think one of our key philosophies around the conference is that everyone is welcome and that there is a role for everyone to play. So if you are a person with lived experience, a caregiver, a service provider, a professional, a researcher, an academic student, you are all welcome and have equal standing. And so you'll see in the sessions that we will pair a research topic like housing with a service provider talking about their experience in providing housing with an individual with FASD talking about their experience in housing. And
So not
almost
just
all,
science, not just
no,
read the slides, but very where science, where the rubber meets the road. So folks that are listening to my show, typically this could be very much beneficial to them because they connect the science to what we're doing in the community, and people should leave there up to date, right? What's going on.
we need to hear all the perspectives to move our field forward, to get the things that we want to get for people, for them to have better lives. And we can't do it in isolation. And these kinds of talks, they help the researchers to understand the issues on a much more personal level. And then also service providers and professionals understand where the research is, what it's saying, and how they can use it to better their situations. So it's a really important format.
Cool. You guys are important. Kathy, you're going to do just fine. You're going to do
Thank you.
just great. Honestly, when she said it, I said, yeah, of course, that made total sense, right? Because we bumped into each other numerous times, and I have no doubt that you're going to be good. And I appreciate just the candor, man. It just makes you guys so human. That's important. You're helping and you're connecting people, but sometimes you're looking for feedback, right? And knowing who's on the other end of the logo, I think, is just as important as the strength of the logo themselves. And when people hear this, they'll be like, yeah, they're cool beans. And Audrey, you're not going anywhere. Kathy's not. So basically, the team just got stronger, right? And better. And Kathy's tell me in a year, which is I tell these. Now you get the vacation days. You get it. You understand. But you've always been a hard worker, man, and you're gonna grow. Just like I'm growing, Audrey's growing. Because I'll tell you what, the first time she was doing interviews with me or on camera, it was, yeah. So you've come a far way too, dude. Always
I
room to
think you
grow.
called me a horse.
Oh, horse's mouth. I said rightfully, you screwed me. You not screwed me. You like kept me on my toes right away because I didn't expect that. Oh, horse's mouth. Okay, so besides going to join you at, because they do have to correct what you said, everybody's welcome. That's not the case. Only 200 people will be welcome. So you have to go to canfasd.ca/Canada hyphen FASD hyphen conference, and we'll put that on our blog, and we'll also post that on the socials when we post this stuff, because I'm going to be there and it's going to be a good time regardless. So come one, come all, and good luck with the bills. And I have no doubt we will have you guys on again and again, because that's what we do, and it's important to for our listeners to hear what's going on, so they know that you guys are really working hard and expanding your own comfort zones to do, which is super admirable. So thanks for being here, my guy.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.